Hello and good morning. Welcome to State Listings Inc., the home of New York State MLS and My State MLS. My name is Dave, and today we are talking about succeeding in the post-COVID-19 real estate market. Joining us today is going to be Joe Meyer, a real estate speaker and trainer here in New York. And what we're going to be talking about today is moving forward in the post-COVID-19 coronavirus real estate market. We're starting to see states start to open back up, and now it's time to start moving forward with our business. Before we toss things over to Joe, of course, we just want to talk about New York State MLS real fast and let you know what is New York State MLS. Well, we are a statewide multiple listing service for the state of New York, which that makes us the largest MLS in New York. And what's really cool about New York State MLS and what makes us so different is since we're not tied to any specific board or association, we don't have any additional politics or infighting, which all ends up to having no penalties or fines to our members. So if you're not already a member of New York State MLS and these types of things are things that you've been dealing with over the years or things you may want to think about switching over to, New York State MLS has always been there for you. And that brings us to who's using New York State MLS. Well, right now, pretty much everyone from different walks of life are using New York State MLS. Even if you're not now, chances are some of your competition is, so which may always make you think about why you should be using New York State MLS as well. That includes brokers who did not have local MLS coverage before, whether they're in a pocket area where there is no definitive local MLS, or brokers just wanting an edge over their competition who want to have additional exposure. They want to be able to tout that they're part of something larger than just the local MLS. But that's New York State MLS. What we're talking about today is dealing with the real estate market in this post-COVID-19 era. What we've been doing here at New York State MLS, we've been helping you navigate this entire time with our remote learning series where we've been going live on Facebook every Tuesday and Friday just to give you different tips and tricks as to how you can navigate this new social norm that we've been dealing with of social distancing, of work from home measures. And we've been doing that every Tuesday and Friday right on Facebook Live. So make sure you find us on Facebook at facebook.com/NYS MLS. Be sure to like that page and you'll be notified every time we go live on Facebook. And of course, throughout the entire month, we have been doing our Marketing May series where we've been giving you different tips and tricks to help navigate the real estate market, not only during this delicate time of social distancing, but how you can utilize this month to get yourself geared up for the summer buying season. If you're not part of this series, be sure to log on to our website, NYStateMLS.com, and click on the resources form at the top of the site. You'll see a resources drop down. You'll be able to get our webinar schedule where you can register for the entire Marketing May series. So without further ado, we're going to bring in Joe, who's going to tell you all you need to know about navigating the real estate market post-COVID-19. Morning, Joe. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Dave, and I thank you for having me today. So first of all, good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to try to help you a little bit with this post-COVID-19 real estate market because of the fact, believe it or not, we've been locked down now for close to 2 months. As we're going through it, we each day are like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. But 2 months have gone by already. Okay, so what's going to be happening in the next 2 months? Well, let's take a look and speak about that. First of all, I want to thank you again to New York State MLS for sponsoring this for everybody. They're an outstanding organization. A lot of my clients do belong to them, and you know, even if they belong to a certain MLS, they supplement it with the New York State MLS because of the fact that you're able to reach more listings, more opportunities. You have a buyers looking for something a little bit out of your area. They're a great resource. So I suggest and highly recommend to all of the broker owners out there, especially, to look into it as a way to supplement your marketing and everything else. Okay, so I want to talk about the 95-5 impact on the post-COVID-19 real estate market. You know, you've all heard of the 80-20 rule. Well, this is the 95-5 rule. What it is basically 95% of the agents right now are asleep at the wheel. They're doing nothing. I know I speak to the broker owners. I've done a number of Zoom meetings and consultations with broker owners, and they're telling me, Joe, my agents are sitting back. They're waiting. They're not doing anything, and that is a problem for them. But even though 95% are asleep at the wheel, 5% are doing business, and they're doing a lot of business. They're still prospecting. They're still doing showings. They're doing virtual showings, but showings. They're marketing. They're marketing themselves, and they're marketing their listings, and they're selling. There's a lot of deals, believe it or not, that are being put into contract right now, getting ready to close. There's been a lot of closings. One of my clients that I do a lot of work for, I do meetings for them 2-3 times every month, and it's been virtual for the last couple of months. But we took a very proactive approach to improving their skills and their techniques. Well, as a result, the broker owner told me that they haven't skipped a beat. They've been taking listings galore. They've been selling houses galore. They've been having contracts, closings every single week. Now, this is something that everybody can be doing. There is one in particular company that I work with. They're in Brooklyn. They're doing a fantastic amount of business, and they're doing it legally. They're doing it according to the lockdown rules and regulations and laws. So that's something that we want to look at. The other thing is the other 95-5 principle. What's the other 95-5 principle? Well, 95% of your real estate career after COVID-19 is going to stay the same. Everybody keeps on talking about the new normal, what's going to happen. 95% is going to stay exactly the same. Here's what I mean by that. You're still going to have to prospect. That has never changed. My 44 years in real estate, that has never, ever changed. If you want listings, and listings is the name of the game, always has been, always will be, you need to prospect for the listings. So that's not going to change. You're still going to need to market your listings to buyers. Now, maybe the way we do it is different than the way we did it years ago. We used to write these 3-line ads for the newspapers and stuff like that. Today, we're using social media, SMS marketing, things like that. But you still have to market your listings to the buyers. You still have to put them out there to attract the buyers. You're still going to need the answers to the most common objections. One thing that has not changed in this industry are objections. I think your commission is too high. Well, I want to try it at a higher price and then see what happens. I think that my house is worth more than what you say. These are all common. We're still going to have to answer to them, okay? That is not changing at all. You're going to still need to professionally persuade people to sell and buy. In other words, close, okay? How do we close people, okay? Well, the best way to close people is just ask for the order, okay? But then when they resist and they say no, how do I come back and close and reclose and reclose again? I'm sure you've all heard about the studies that have been done that, the typical consumer is going to say no 5 times before they say yes. I mean, I'm going to ask you, how many times have you been out on a listing presentation? Maybe it's a for sale by owner, maybe it's an expired listing or whatever, and they say no to you. And you meekly and mildly, walk away and say, oh, they're not ready. But then you see the listing come out on MLS 3 days later. What was the difference? The difference was the agent who closed them, who was able to professionally persuade them to list their house, okay? The same thing with buyers. You get buyers who, they're looking at homes, If you don't close, you're not going to get the sale. Somebody else will. Even the most motivated buyers and the most motivated sellers generally need polite persuasion to make the decision. You're going to still need to follow up on transactions. You still have to follow up with the attorneys. You have to follow up with the lenders. You have to follow up with the appraisers, with the home inspectors, all this stuff. None of this is going to change. You're still going to need to keep educated to keep up with changes in the real estate industry. Now, right now, we've had some big changes in the real estate industry. You can't, go on a listing presentation. You have to do a virtual listing presentation. You can't have an open house that you normally would and have tons of people come in. That has changed. You have to do maybe a virtual open house. So you need to get educated on how to do those type of things. And I'm, Dave mentioned before about New York State MLS having these webinars constantly, and they are far, far better than I am as far as the teaching you how to do things technologically. Forte is the interpersonal skills, the objection skills, the closing skills, things like that. But if you want to know how to do virtual tours better, that I'm sure Dave and the nice people over at New York State MLS can help you with that. You're going to still need to maintain a positive attitude and demeanor. Okay, now let me touch on that. It's funny being stuck at home. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's it can be, get you down a little bit. I know I'm down about getting a haircut. I just wish I could get a haircut. Okay, I don't trust my wife with scissors yet, so I'm waiting for the barbershops to open up. But in the meantime, you got to maintain a positive attitude and demeanor, and I'm doing that. One of the things that has helped me is doing these Zoom meetings with my grandchildren, because even though I would love to be there personally to give them a hug and a kiss, I can't do it. But being able to just see them and hear them helps me with the positive attitude. I'm going to tell you something else that I'm doing. I learned many, many years ago from a very famous motivational speaker, and this is over 40 years ago. And he says, if you want to maintain a positive attitude, start your day off right. Start off by, and at that time, there was no internet. So he would, suggest a book. And that we read a book that had all to do about positive motivation. Read the book for 5 minutes every single morning. That way you start your day off with the right attitude. And then 5 minutes before you go to bed at night. That way all those positive messages stay in your subconscious while you're sleeping, and then you'll wake up feeling more positive. Well, I just started doing this. A book that I've read over 40 years ago, and I've read a number of times, I just picked up and started reading again. And that was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it's funny how you get reminded about certain things. And I'll be honest with you, during this COVID-19 lockdown, it has helped me quite a bit to maintain a positive attitude and demeanor. So that's something I'm going to suggest to you to do too. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in this program. Okay, now, what is the 5% change in real estate? What will change? Okay, for one thing, first of all, I'm going to caution everybody, be prepared for any type of market, because no one knows what we will see. Now, I have seen on Facebook and emails and everything else, all of these quote unquote experts saying what's going to happen. And I have seen these experts saying everything from it'll be the hottest market ever to we're going to be into a recession and the real estate market's going to take a nosedive. These are all experts, so to speak. The fact of the matter is, no one knows what we'll see. This COVID-19, we have never seen this before. None of us were alive during the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic. We don't know exactly what we're going to see. There's all sorts of things that could happen. Now, am I optimistic that it'll be good market? Yes, I'm optimistic. But you got to be prepared for any type of market. Someone said, oh, well, there's no listings on the market right now. There's a shortage. So the supply and demand is going to be off balance. The demand is going to be much higher than the supply. Well, that's true for today. Once this ends, think about this. All those people who usually put their home on the market in the spring and held back, including all the FSBOs, all of the expireds, maybe putting it on the market all at once. And all of a sudden, the balance may be tipped a little bit the other way. Also, we don't know what's happening with a lot of the buyers. Yeah, there's some buyers out there right now, very motivated, and I encourage you to work with them. But how many buyers were planning on buying and lost their jobs and may not get them back right away? So all I'm saying is be prepared for any type of market. A very wise gentleman told me a long time ago, there's no such thing as a good market or a bad market, only good agents and bad agents. The good agents will adapt, the bad agents will drop out. So he said, he goes, Joe, he goes, forget about the market. Don't believe in the market. Believe in Joe Meyer. Believe in yourself to adapt to any type of market conditions. And that's what I do. I would adapt. Even today in my speaking business, I have to adapt for any type of market. Now, I've been in real estate for about 44 years. I've been a professional full-time speaker for about 34, 35 years. And I've had to adapt my training to different types of markets. Markets which were buyers markets, other ones which were seller markets, one where interest rates were going up, ones where interest rates were going down. So I had to adapt my training for those type of markets. Agents, you have to adapt for any type of market that we might see. And like I say, believe in yourself. Don't worry about the market. If you give the market too much credit, then you're a victim of the market. Okay. Now, in the 44 years I've been in real estate, I've seen many different crises, and each one had an effect on the market. When I first started in real estate, interest rates were about 7%. Within 2 years, they were up to 19%. And then it took another 3 or 4 years before they came back down to single digit, like 9.5%. Okay. In the time when the interest rates were, sky high, a lot of agents dropped out of the market. I did extremely well. Why? I learned how to do creative financing, how to show homeowners the benefit of holding a mortgage. I did adjustable rate mortgages. I did FHA 245 mortgages, which some of you have never even heard of. It was a mortgage where for buyers to qualify with the high interest rates, they would start off at a lower rate, and then over the first 6 years, their mortgage amount would actually increase. Now, what happened was a lot of people say, oh my God, that's horrible. No, it allowed a lot of people to buy homes at a time when they normally could not have been. And then as time went on, their house prices appreciated and stuff like that. So these are things that you can learn, okay? So each crisis did have an effect on the market. We just have to wait and see what type of effect is going to come onto this market in the coming months. Okay, here's one thing that may change. Technology, such as virtual open houses, virtual showings, virtual listing presentations, e-signatures, may actually become more of a normal way of doing business. As homeowners have gotten used to doing webinars, Zoom seminars, things like that, they actually may be more comfortable, especially in the early days of when things open up. Don't forget, people like myself, senior citizens who have a compromised immune system, are going to be very, very cautious about letting people in their houses. Even though the world may be open up, they say that for people like myself, we're supposed to be locked down until they come up with a vaccine. So there may be people who, senior citizens, may be very, very cautious about just letting people in. There may be buyers who be cautious and say, you know what, I want to see virtual showings, virtual open houses. And then if I finally find one, I may put on my mask and gloves and go over and take a look at it. So that type of technology may become more of a normal way to do business, especially in the beginning of us opening up our markets. The other thing that I expect to see is a number of agents are going to drop out of the business, because they usually do following any crisis. Why do they drop out? Well, if you look at NAR statistics, your local MLS statistics, you usually see that about 50% of all agents do not even earn 1 penny. They do not do one sale in the course of any 12-month period, but they're paying the high realtor fees and maybe they got fees for CRMs, things like that. Well, I think what happens is during a crisis, they usually say, geez, you know what? Maybe it's time I go get a regular 9-to-5 job. So every crisis, I see agents dropping out. As a result, you're going to have less agents, but they're going to be making more money. Why will they be making more money? Well, a lot of those agents who do nothing do take buyers and sellers away from us, and basically they blow it. So what happens is, I think you're going to see home buyers and home sellers be a little bit more discriminatory in who they're going to do business with. They're going to want to do business with the real pro, with the agent who can produce results. So don't be surprised if you see agents dropping out of the business. That's a normal thing following any type of crisis. Let's talk about today's opportunities. Like I said before, most of your competitors are asleep at the wheel right now. So I'm going to tell you, take over that wheel and step on the gas. Let's floor it. Let's really be aggressive and assertive in the way we're going to be doing business right now, starting today. Okay? Most buyers and sellers are actually nicer right now, and they want to hear what is going on. I'll give you an example. One of my students, he's living out in the Hamptons on the east end of Long Island. And that can be a tough market at times. But he was out there with his mask on, jogging through the neighborhood, getting his exercise in. A young man, like 20, 21 years old. And he was jogging past this house that had a for sale by owner sign on it. And all he did was wave to the neighbor. They waved to him and then waved him to come over towards them. Well, he kept the social distance of about, 6-7 feet. But they just said, oh, they were just so happy to see somebody that they could speak to. And he was talking to him, and he just asked them, so how are things going for you? And he asked, is there anything that you need? Maybe, I live around the corner, anything I can do for you? And they said, well, you know what? We're just frustrated right now because we can't get this damn house sold. And he told him, he goes, well, geez, maybe I can help you. I'm in real estate. And started speaking with them. And they were listed before with another broker who did absolutely nothing. And the usual complaint, I listed with them. I never heard from them again. They didn't do anything. They didn't keep in communications with me. So he made an appointment to do a virtual listing presentation for them. This was a $5 million home. $5 million. In fact, I'm waiting for a call from him today to tell me the results, that he get it or not. But he said he was pretty confident getting it because they told him right there and then. They were already impressed with the fact that, what he had to say just in front of them. He also has been reaching out to people and has another listing appointment on a $10 million home out in the Hamptons. And what happened was he got their cell number, texted them. They texted him right back, gave their phone number, and said, please call us at your earliest convenience. He did. And I think next week he has the appointment on that $10 million listing. So, it's funny. One of the things that I'm hearing from a lot of agents is that people are just nicer right now. Now, it might be because of the fact that they're lonely, they want to speak to people. It might be because of the fact that they are frustrated, that they want to get things done and they can't. Activity is slow, things like that. So if some of you have a fear of speaking to people, I'm going to tell you right now, the vast majority of them, I'm not going to say everybody, there's always the nasty Nellies out there, but the vast majority of them are a lot nicer right now. That's great news for you. So I'm going to suggest that you start connecting people using email, SMS, or texting, even snail mail, and the telephone. Now, let me go into that a little bit more. SMS, texting. A lot of FSBOs and expireds or whatever, you can Google them. You can get their cell phone number for texting. You can get their email address. And if you can't, I know an agent ordered, and this is going back about a month and a half ago when this whole thing started, ordered these postcards specifically for FSBOs, and then another set specifically for expired listings. And he's been mailing them and getting a response. So it's a matter of being active, being proactive, doing things. Now, I say telephone them. Under New York State law right now, you cannot solicit people on the telephone. So you cannot call FSBOs, you cannot call expireds, you cannot cold call. But if you can get a hold of their email address, their physical address, or their cell number, you can contact them that way. We can also use this time to get our CE credits out of the way online. I mean, if you're sitting home right now, you're doing nothing, you're binge watching on Netflix, but you're going to have CE credits to do before the end of the year. Why not get them out of the way right now? There are tons and tons of CE seminars going on. Some of them free, some of them dirt cheap, some that may interest you, some that may not interest you. But look into it. Get them out of the way. So this way, when we get done out of this COVID-19 crisis, you go full blast. You don't have to worry about your CE credits. Too many agents wait until like December 18th to get their CE credits online. Please, folks, do yourself a favor. Get it out of the way right now. We can use this time to increase our skills. And like I say, I have a client in Brooklyn. I'm doing like 3 seminars a month for them right now, specifically on increasing the skills. They are loving it. In fact, that's the one I told you, the broker emailed me. They have not lost a step. They are taking listings every week. They're making sales every week. They're having closings every week. They're getting price adjustments on their listings. They're doing all sorts of things. They're still making money. Their agents are still making money. And they said that one of the things that helped them most is the fact that we've been doing a lot of skill training on objection handling in particular and closing techniques. And it's working out for them. Now, if it's working out for them right now while we're shut down, they will see their goal was to be prepared or better prepared once this whole thing was lifted. But it's already working for them. Once this whole thing is lifted, I don't think there's any way you're going to stop this company and these agents from going out there and making a ton of money. Now, with you've got online books, you've got YouTube videos, you've got webinars, you've got everything going for you on how to increase your skills. If I was to ask you to give yourself a grade 1 through 100 on prospecting, on your listing presentation, on handling objections, and your closing techniques, and you were to be honest, a lot of you would not that good. Well, take this time, start doing it, improve your skills now, because it's going to pay later on. We can use this time to explore and learn how to use new technologies. It's funny. 35 years ago, when I started doing training, we used an overhead projector and a flip chart. Now, look at me. I'm doing Zoom and sharing my screen of PowerPoint on there. Those things didn't even exist when I started, okay? I had to learn them. I'm learning new things now. I just learned about a new app for my friends who are down in Suffolk and Nassau County and Long Island. It's not yet in the 5 boroughs or upstate, but down in Suffolk and Nassau County, there's a program called Lotus Quotes. It's just a great, great technology that I learned about. And like I say, right now they're just in Nassau and Suffolk County, but anybody from there who's watching this right now, I urge you to explore it, learn all about it. It can only help you to get listings and sales later on. We can use this time, and it is an opportunity to share our love with our families. Now, I know being stuck at home, with your families can sometimes also bring tensions and everything like that. But folks, I can't tell you, I do a lot of traveling around the country with my seminars. When I'm away for, 3 days, a week, whatever, I miss my family. I miss being with my wife. Okay. I miss calling up and, seeing go over to my kids' houses and seeing them, seeing my grandkids. This is a great time. You may never get an opportunity like this again, where you do get to spend as much time with your families. And you should share your love with your families, because nothing is promised for tomorrow. I just found out since Monday, 2 agents that I know of who's attended my seminars that passed away from the coronavirus. 2 of them, just in the last couple of days. Normal, healthy people, they got the coronavirus, and boom, they're gone. Look, we don't know. Like I say, with myself being a senior citizen, I've had a lot of health problems. If I got it, my cardiologist already told me, he goes, Joe, there's very, very little chance of you surviving. So looking at that, I realized, hey, you know what? He's probably right. I gotta use this time to share my love with my wife, because we're bunkered down here today, in our house together. Please, please don't be shy about letting people know that you love them. This is my message for today, is what you do today can improve all of your tomorrows. Everything you do today can either improve your tomorrows or detract from your tomorrows. It's up to you. There's an old 10-word saying that I refer to once in a while. If it is to be, it is up to me. Folks, it's up to you to make the decision on what you can do today to improve your tomorrows. So let's talk about some specific things that you can do right now. I hope everybody in my listening audience has a CRM. I just did a Zoom meeting with a broker last week or the week before, I can't remember, and none of their agents had a CRM, a customer relationship management system. This is your old sphere of influence, people that you know and who know you, who could possibly either buy or sell from you or refer business to you. Okay, everybody should have a good, solid CRM program today. Okay, in the old days, what we had was a little recipe box. We put in 3x5 cards, and then we put in the months, January, February, March, and in each one we would have who we had to follow up with that month, and we would call them up, because there was no texting, there was no emailing. So we either called them up or we sent them a card in the mail. Folks, right now there are people in your CRM. Like I say, everybody is a little lonely today, a little bored today. This is a great time to follow people in your CRM. So how do you follow up with them? Well, start by saying, geez, I was going through my computer, I saw your name, and I was just wondering, how are you doing? How is your family doing? Is there anything that I could do for you? Anything that you need? You might also, with your CRM, send out a questionnaire, a poll. We were just wondering if you're one of those people who lost their job. If you did lose your job or didn't lose your job, how would that affect your decision to maybe move in the near future? So what? Send out 1,000 of them. If you get 2 people who say, yes, we're going to be moving out of the New York area, we want to move to Florida or South Carolina or Texas or Arizona, whatever, that's two solid listing leads. That's better than just sitting down and eating another, cupcake. So follow up people in your CRM. Do 10 a day, 20 a day, whatever. Okay, whatever you feel comfortable with. Let's start doing it today. There's one lady, I don't know, she said she was going to listen in today. Not only a student of mine, but I've coached her one-on-one, and she's a good friend, a great lady. Her name is Paula Anaruma. I noticed that on Facebook, she's been sending out to all her Facebook contacts tips about once a week on how to prepare your home for sale. That's a great way to follow up. And while I'm on that subject, social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever. How are people going to identify you? Are they going to identify you as a realtor, or are they going to identify you as the person who's constantly making political statements? Are they going to identify you as the person who constantly shows pictures of the food they're eating? That stuff is fine once in a while, but not the political stuff. I highly suggest you don't put anything political on your social media page, just because of the fact that, 50% of the people, 50% of the audience are going to hate you. So business-wise, it's not a good decision. But if you're going to post things, pictures of your family, pictures of you making a certain meal or whatever, that's fine once in a while. But do they know you as the realtor, as the real estate expert in their area, a person that they can contact and say, hey, we're thinking about selling our house, or hey, my kids are going to be buying their first home. Wonder if you could help them. How do they, go to Facebook or Instagram, pick any realtor and start looking at their posts. You'd be amazed. Some of the people will have 100 posts and not one is about real estate. You can't even tell that they're in real estate. So if you've had people in your CRM that are also your social media friends, please be careful about that. Contact FSBOs and expireds via text, emails, and snail mail. Folks, they're not hearing from anybody. You have very, very little, if any, competition right now. In fact, I told you about that young man who was jogging and the $5 million listing appointment he got. The homeowners told him they haven't heard from an agent in 2 months, but they were a FSBO on Zillow and a couple other sites. They haven't heard a thing from any realtor. The young man jogging in the neighborhood was the first realtor that they heard from. Okay, so contact them. But when you send the text or the email or the snail mail, be gentle, because you don't know what's happening in their lives. They could be in the middle of a divorce, but they got stuck together in the same house for the last 2 months and hate each other. Maybe they have somebody in their family that they lost to the coronavirus. So just let them know, say, look, I'm here if you need questions answered about the real estate market today and the real estate market for tomorrow. Feel free to give me a call. No pressure. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. That type of contacting. If they don't contact you back, so be it. If somebody does, you got a listing lead. But you might be surprised. They heard from you once. Maybe they're like, well, we're not going to do anything until after they lift this. Now, as of today, all 50 states have lifted some sort of restrictions. I know in New York State, upstate is far ahead of what we are down in the 5 boroughs, and I believe Westchester and Long Island. But eventually, it's all going to be lifted up. That's when you're going to make sure that these FSBOs have heard from you before. Send them, emails on things that they can do to get their house prepared, how they can get top dollar, things like that. And then when everything is lifted, they may turn around and just contact you and say, hey, could you please come on over? Increase your social media contacts and postings. Now, one of the things that I did is when this started 2 months ago, I had about, 3,200 quote unquote Facebook friends, of which 99.9% are realtors or people in the real estate industry, maybe mortgage brokers, what have you. I use social media for business only, period. Okay. I don't use it for my family. I don't have any family members that are my Facebook friends. Why? Because if I want to contact them, I go visit them or I call them or what have you. Okay. So I use it only for business. So I made a determination that from that 3,200, I wanted to increase it and add other real estate agents that I could contact to, speak about my seminars and coaching and things like that. Well, guess what? I'm now up to 4,200. That's one of the goals that I had. One of the objectives. I was going to increase my social media contacts, and I did it. Now, for those of you who are doing ads on Facebook, experiment a little bit with, boosted ads on Facebook. To put an ad on Facebook is like $5, and then to boost the ad is like another $5, okay? Now, why do I say Facebook? Recent studies have shown that of all the social media outlets, Facebook is the one most used by people looking to buy and sell real estate. Instagram is an up-and-coming one, but that's more for younger people, people who maybe are millennials who haven't bought a house yet, they don't have a house to sell, whatever. Instagram is great. I love Instagram. It's not a problem at all, but don't give up on Facebook. Facebook is the one right now where most real estate happenings are happening with, okay? So experiment a little bit. Boost your ads, see what happens. Keep in touch with your current listings. I know a lot of agents took listings back in January and February, and they're just sitting there. Even if they're just sitting there, those people need to hear from you. They need to know that, yes, this is not a normal market. Yes, we have to do virtual showings, and maybe we can't do it with your home right now for whatever reasons. But I want you to know that I'm thinking of you, and that when things get back to normal, we'll do it. You could also perhaps give them the option of having a videographer going over there. The videographer may ask them to fix up the house, everything nice and neat and tidy, leave the house for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it takes for them to do a virtual tour, and then send it to you so that you can actually show their listing right now to people, okay? So keep in touch with them, because if not, when the listing does expire, they're not going to relist with you. They're just absolutely not. Keep in touch with your buyer prospects. I'm sure that if you look into your CRM or whatever file you had buyers who were looking for homes that all of a sudden sat back, they're home, they're locked down, and they're not looking anymore. Let them know you're thinking of them. Send them virtual tours. Speak to them. Say, did things change with you? Do you still have your employment? Did you lose your job? How can I help you? Did you go into mortgage forbearance right now with your current home? Let me see if I can put you in touch with somebody who can help you with that. I think Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae recently changed some of their regulations for people who went into mortgage forbearance so that they could refinance, or they wouldn't lose anything, or wouldn't affect their credit, whatever. So these are things that your buyer prospects need to hear, because you know what? A lot of them are really going to be anxious to buy once this thing is over with. Keep in touch with mortgage lenders. Now, I say lenders, plural. I have spoken with, a half a dozen or so mortgage lenders since this thing started, and I get different opinions from all of them. Some of them are very bullish on the market. Some are very bearish on the market. Some are saying, oh, geez, it's going to be tough because they raise the credit scores to qualify. And other people are saying, no, you know what? We're ready. We're giving out mortgages. Let me speak to your buyers. I'll speak to them right now. Maybe we can help them out right now so that when they do buy, they'll have a better idea of where they are. We get them pre-approved, things like that. So keep in touch with mortgage lenders. And my suggestion, deal with the ones that are most positive, the ones that are upbeat, the ones who are proactive, okay, that are optimistic. Call your friendly competitors. Yes, call the other brokers and agents in your market area just to say hi, build relationships. Say hi, just wondering, how are you guys doing during this coronavirus lockdown? Are you doing any business? Are you getting any listings? You making any sales? Things like that. I always felt it was better for me. I was a very big lister. I used to take a ton of listings, and I used to rely on other agents selling them. I wanted to have a friendly relationship. It always made for a better time when we had to negotiate a deal, okay? If they were on my side, okay? If we were friendly competitors rather than adversarial competitors, okay? So now's the time, introduce yourself, build relationships. It's going to help you out later on. In fact, some of you might even build these relationships and help out your broker and your company by recruiting for them. Say, hey, I was speaking with this guy from, XYZ company. He's a great guy. I really think he'd be a great addition to our company. And I spoke to him about our company, and he seemed interested. Here, I told him that you might reach out to him. You know what? There's all sorts of things you can do, but it's always better to speak to people. I have competitors in my speaking business, and when I go to these big conventions to speak, I always try to run into them and keep a friendly thing. Sometimes we compete for the same jobs. Well, that's the way the ball bounces. Okay. Sometimes I win, sometimes they win. But if I have healthy relationships with them, I don't have to worry about anybody talking bad about behind my back. Read books, read internet articles, go to YouTube videos, build your knowledge, attitude, and skills right now, every single day. In fact, you should be doing this for at least 1 hour every day. I've been told by many, many, many people, thousands of people across the country, including some of my own speaker competitors, that there is nobody in the business better at overcoming listing objections than me. And I have to agree with them. Give myself a little pat on the back. I do believe I am the best in the world. People always ask me, how is it you became so great at overcoming these objections? And I just tell them that, early in my career, I used to practice overcoming them at least an hour every single day. And it was kind of funny because, they say, well, I'm so busy. Well, you know how I would do it? I would do it in the car when I was driving to an appointment. I would do it at home, watching TV at night, and a commercial would come on. I'd hit mute, and I'd practice during a commercial. If I had a baby at that time, which we had, little babies at that time, if I was changing their diaper, I would, role play with the little 4-month-old baby, change their diaper, and they'd laugh as I'm telling them why I was worth a certain commission. And I would just role play there. Sometimes I had a German Shepherd named Duke, and he used to love to listen to me speak to him. And he didn't care what I was saying. I used to role play with him. So I was constantly role playing with myself, and it helped me. It got to the point where not only could I overcome the objections, I created and I innovated different ways to overcome the objections to be even more persuasive. And then I would role play where I would overcome the objection and then close right away. And it always worked so well. So folks, take an hour a day to practice, to learn, to increase your knowledge, increase your skills. So if we're going to do this, we got to create a plan today for our future in real estate. First thing I say is just grab pencil and paper. Take stock of your strengths and the areas that you need to improve upon. Everybody has certain strengths. Everybody has areas that you need to improve upon. My strengths is my communication skills, my interpersonal skills, things like that. Areas I need to improve upon, my technology skills. It's funny, I'm doing things now I never thought I'd be able to do. I always found technology, and it's probably because of my age, but I always found technology to be very intimidating. So what I'm doing today and throughout this whole time is I'm trying to keep up my communication strengths, speak to my wife. I'll try out different stories on her that I might tell in the future seminars, and I'll work on my technology skills, speaking with people, usually a lot younger than me, who can help me on certain things. And I've gotten better. I'm not great, but I've gotten better. So write down, what are your strengths? How can you improve your strengths? And what areas you need to improve upon, and create a plan to improve upon them. So you learn to utilize your strengths even more in your everyday real estate career? How can I utilize my strengths to make myself even better, a more effective, more productive everyday real estate agent? And then start making a list of how you will improve upon your weaker skills and knowledge areas and plan to start working on them now. You know, it's funny, like I said, my strength has always been communications, interpersonal skills, things like that. This goes back to the time when I was in kindergarten and I used to get up and entertain the class. All my life, I've always been, for lack of a better word, charismatic. So I've always had an ability to overcome any audience, any fear of that. But with the weaker skills, okay, I had to make a plan. Who was I going to call to help me with mass email? Who was I going to call to help me with social media? Who was I going to call who could help me with, you know, this and that in the technology field? And I started doing it. So identify the resources you have to make improvements. We said books, and books. Sometimes just that warm and fuzzy book holding your hand is even better, I think. You use YouTube. Your broker is a great resource, and online articles that you can find on Google. Spend at least 1 hour per day on improving yourself. Make that commitment today. Let me ask you this. How many prospects can you line up for the post-COVID-19 market? Start contacting people today. Line up your prospects, your listing prospects, your buying prospects. Find out what they want, what they need, what they're interested in, what their concerns are, and start communicating with them today. You know, this whole coronavirus thing has been kind of bad in certain ways, but sometimes the bad things that happen in our lives puts directly on the path to the best things that are going to happen to us. First and foremost, folks, for everybody out there, even though things are lifting up a little bit, I want you to stay safe. I want you to stay healthy. Wear your masks. Be careful. Dave, that's it for me.
All right, again, thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of circle back and just kind of reiterate some of the stuff that Joe had talked about today. One of the biggest things he talked about were people having to drop out of the business because of right now things are slower, and during in times of crisis and these slower seasons, there are times when people drop out of the business, and that's either because of the bills or the fines they can't pay. And we just wanted to circle back here at New York State MLS and let you know that, again, back to what we had discussed before, is that we do not have things like fines or high bills. Our membership is just a fraction of that of other local MLSs. So if you are thinking about how you can save money and still continue to do your business, New York State MLS may be a great option for you. Joe also mentioned following up with your clients through a CRM. If you're not a member of New York State MLS or you're already a member of the MLS, no, we actually have a built-in CRM tool right into the MLS. There's no additional cost for that CRM. So you can go ahead and start keeping track of all your customers and clients right within your MLS account. That's going to allow you to go ahead and take care of all of that business and stay in touch with your customers and clients through that built-in CRM. One of the other top things that Joe had mentioned was increasing your social media contacts. And so I just want to bring to your attention, again, we have been doing our remote learning series live on Facebook every Tuesday and Friday, but then also our Marketing May series, where just last week we actually did an entire presentation on social media advertising and how you can get the most out of social media and your social media accounts. We're going to be making that replay available online right on our website at NYStateMLS.com. So make sure you do keep an eye on that there so you can go ahead and watch that replay at any time. And the last point that Joe had mentioned again was building your knowledge base, spending that hour every single day to better yourself. That's what we've been doing here at New York State MLS. We do webinars pretty much every single week. In the summer, we'll probably switch it up to every other week just because we know that is a traditionally busier season in which we hope it's busy for everyone. But typically, we're doing once a week webinars where we are covering various different topics. Like I said, right now in May, we are doing Marketing May, where we have been showing you different tools and devices and things that you can do to increase your exposure, to build your business and be the best agent that you can possibly be. With that said, Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Dave. Thank you very much for hosting it.
All right, for all of you joining us online, thank you for being with us today. We hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll be seeing you again very soon. All right, bye.